Molac, and we are here representing David's Legacy Foundation. I want to thank all of the representatives that are here today that are supporting David's Law and what we're doing. Senator Jose Menendez, who is the author of our bill, David's Law, and Representative Moody here today. One of the most important things about today is that we're here to welcome the Padaleckis. They are here to support us and to support David's Legacy Foundation. Jen and Jared, as you all know, are from Austin, and they have done an amazing amount of work out in the community regarding mental health, random acts of kindness, and various other really wonderful things that they're doing here in Austin and in Texas and all over the world. So we are blessed to have them be a part of us today, and for us to be able to share our story with them and what we're trying to do with David's Law and David's Legacy Foundation and taking it to the next level, which is to spread awareness of cyberbullying and what that does to the mental health of our children, as well as be able to spread the word across the nation as our next step. And so we're grateful for you guys today. And
sure. Forgive us, our 3 and 5-year-old are not as excited
being in front of the
being in front of the cameras as we must be.
So first of all, I'd love to thank all of you for having us here today. I mean, it's truly an honor to come before our public servants and discuss an issue that is incredibly near and dear to our hearts, and I feel very humble, so I thank you so much. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Genevieve Padalecki. I'm the wife of this guy over here, Jared.
Much better.
And we currently live just down the road. I grew up between the Bay Area and Sun Valley, Idaho, and Jared grew up just down I-35 in San Antonio. When we got married, we were living in Los Angeles, and when we began having children, it was very important to Jared and me to find a place that had the quality of life of Sun Valley, the diversity of San Francisco, and respectfulness of San Antonio, excuse me. Once we had our first child, we knew that we had to move to Texas, and we moved to Austin. We chose it because the mutual respect, the kindness for others, tolerance, and the way the old-fashioned mixed with the modern world. It's a place that we are proud to raise our young children in, and we are excited to watch them grow and develop as native Texans. Here I am a mom. I have 3 children. I have Thomas, who's 5. I have Shep, who's 3, and we recently had a daughter named Odette, who is 2 months old. My day-to-day routine is carpooling to school and nursing the baby at night, and hopefully by day you might catch me running like Austin with the kids in tow. While acting has been a bit on the back burner, I've recently partnered with the company Pop and Suki with my social media Now and Jen to raise a combined $100,000 for the Human Rights Campaign as well as Planned Parenthood. I am also on the board of Random Acts, a 501c3 started by another fellow supernatural actor, Misha Collins. Random Acts' mission statement is to conquer the world one random act of kindness at a time. And while Jared is being a dad and balancing his work life on supernatural films in Vancouver, Canada, he tries to find time focusing on his campaign, Always Keep Fighting, or supporting To Write Love on Our Arms, where he hopes to shed light on mental health, depression, and struggles with self-injury and suicide. The topic of tolerance is incredibly important to me and to Jared, and it's an incredibly important topic that we want to instill in our children. We want our kids to understand empathy and to embrace diversity with open arms, and I only hope that they are met with the same warmth. And this is why we are here today. I don't know too many people who grew up unscathed from the battles of the school playground. I too was heavily bullied. I will never forget having food thrown at me during lunch, physically assaulted by fellow peers, and names called at me that still give me a bit of anxiety to this day. Thankfully, I had the luxury to hide out in a music room or to bury my frustration into my soccer practices. The bullying began and it ended at school. I didn't have to take it home with me in my cell phone. The world today is a very different world than the world that I grew up in. School was left at school, cell phones were known as car phones, and the internet and social media didn't really exist. Today's children live and breathe social media. Cell phones are an essential tool They provide the location of our children and the quick check-in from a parent's point of view. And for kids, they provide communication with their peers and an outlet such as music apps and social media. Teens use their phones on a regular basis. And as parents, there's only so much we can protect our children from. We can tell them to look the other way. We can tell them to ignore the situation, to be stronger and tougher, rise above it, etc. But if you're told over and over and over again messages about how worthless you are or terrible you are, at some point the saying, sticks and stones break my bones, just don't, it doesn't apply, because words really do hurt, especially if there isn't a way to turn them off. There needs to be consequences for these cowardly actions. I am grateful and I'm proud to live in a community and a state that values children and their mental health and that recognizes the damage that can be done from the misuse and abuse of social media. We thank these families for doing what Jared and I try to do, to create awareness of mental health issues, how they arise, how to combat them, and how to cope. And sometimes you need to pass a law to equip people with the tools that they need to combat a pervasive problem and protect the health of people. And what is more important than our kids? I've heard the Mollocks talk about their son David and their family experience when he was the target of severe and sustained cyberbullying. They say it created a mental health crisis in their home for all of their family members, and it led to a devastating consequence that Jared and I can't even imagine. We are so sorry for your loss. David's Legacy Foundation, started by Maureen and Matt Mollock in honor of their son, is dedicated to ending cyberbullying by educating communities about the harmful effects of cyber abuse, providing support for bullying victims, and promoting kindness. That is right up the alley of random acts of kindness and always keep fighting. I want to thank the Mollock family for sharing your story, and I'm so sorry for your tragedy. And I'm hoping that through David's legacy, we can impact the lives of others. We need to raise awareness and prevent another tragedy from happening. If we as adults set the right examples through random and purposeful acts of kindness and consideration, and by encouraging kids who are suffering from any kind of abuse to always keep fighting, because there is no shame in fighting every day, because it means that you are still alive to hear these words. We wanted to be here today to show Texas how much we love our state and its people. We are happy to share this space with the Mollock and these families and David's Legacy Foundation as we all move together to make our communities, online and physical, better, safer, and kinder for us all, but especially for our kids. Thank you.
There's no way I can follow that. Now you know why I married her. She makes me look good. Sorry, I realized as I was listening, I've been in front of cameras before, but I still, at 34 with 2 kids who are rambunctious and a daughter who's probably going to be rambunctious, I still get anxiety and kind of sweat. So it just goes to show you it affects all of us. It's not my first time in front of a camera. My lines are usually written for me. I had to write this, so if the script sucks, I'm sorry. First of all, it's an honor to be here. It really means a lot. Okay. I remember coming here on field trips in school. I feel uniquely blessed and grateful to be here in the Capitol for this occasion, especially. Thanks for involving us in your struggle and in your fight. Anyways, I understand one of the reasons I got here on the floor was because of my work in television and in movies. But today I stand not before you as a performer, not as an actor, not as somebody who wears makeup for a living, not as a Republican, not as a Democrat. I come to you as a native Texan, an original San Antonian, a current Austinite, a friend, a son, a father, and a husband, a human being who breathes oxygen just like the rest of us in this room. But most importantly, I stand before you today as somebody who has long fought against parts of his nature to feel accepted. As I sweat. As an adolescent, I dealt with bullying. I wasn't always 6'4" and on television. I'm certain we all dealt with bullying to some degree. For me, luckily, I was blessed with loving parents who are still together today, a great role model of an older brother who happens to be an orthopedic surgeon here in town. If anybody gets hurt, shameless plug, Jeffrey Padalecki. And a younger sister who I wanted to be a proper role model for, though in hindsight, she probably taught me more than I taught her. I have friends. I excelled in school and in sports. I knew that my parents and extended family were proud of me, and I'd often witness them bragging about me. My blessings are and were innumerable. But with all those weapons at my disposal, with all the support I had, I was still gutted when school bullies set their sights on me. Mental and psychological bullying, and especially in today's world, cyberbullying, is not like a physical injury. Bruises go away, cuts and scrapes heal. Even the odd broken bone, if repaired properly, will work as well or better than it ever did. But that is not the case with psychological injuries. Psychological injuries compile. They stack up. And they'll never go away unless properly dealt with. I'm here today to implore you, and only you, to stop allowing mental injuries via cyberbullying to continue to flourish unabated. This is not a political issue. This is not a political issue. In our public school system, we treat physical violence with gravitas and punishment. We suspend children, and when the problems don't subsist, we may even expel them. But if the same child who gets suspended for punching somebody decides instead to bombard the same person with endless messages of, "You're worthless, you should hurry up and kill yourself," or "This school and this world would be better off without you," we simply kowtow to the rules. We stand idly by and comfort ourselves with the excuse that our hands were tied. There was no school grounds. It's beyond our control. What true cowardice. I've been fortunate enough to be able to train in mixed martial arts for jobs. I've certainly stood across the mat from some tough fellas, and I can tell you 10 times out of 10, I would rather be punched in the face than called a bad name. See where I was. And when I was in school, bullied, at least there was a repose from the bullying when I got home. I was around my family, my neighborhood friends. I could just push down the shame and embarrassment that accompanies being mocked by your peers. But today, there is an echo chamber, far more powerful than the conservative or liberal media echo chamber. It affects our youth, our children. I don't need or want a show of hands, but I'd like to ask, has anybody here ever done anything as a teenager that they would take back in a second, if they could? Has anybody ever acted like a human being does when they're going through puberty and struggling to fit in? I have, and it haunts me. Here's another fact that occurred to me. The victims of bullying are not the only victims. We also must work to understand and be empathetic to those who perpetrate these actions, for they too are struggling with something that they don't have an outlet for. So let's work to making true contrition happen before it's too late. Before we lose a life, and another life, or lives, are destined to fight with this for the rest of their time on this earth. This is not political. Let us appeal to our greater angels and start to move towards a society where we accept each other even though we are different. No. Where we accept each other especially because we are different. Let's work towards offering the marginalized and the easy targets support. I know I have certainly made it through some tough spots with a kind word or gesture from a fellow person. Let us work to get those who try to fill their own void with animosity and vitriol and hatred the help that they need, so that they are not a party to something that can't be reversed. This is not a political issue. Thank you for letting me be here today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So we definitely want to thank Jared and Jen for really honoring our son, being here today. This is, the legislation is happening, and we're very confident that that's going to be passed here in the next few days. But beyond that, the foundation is focusing on a culture change and raising awareness. And any time that you have, you have a couple of people that have celebrity status and they're successful. They're by the look at them, you'd expect everything to be perfect in their lives, but they're like everybody else, willing to speak out and say, "Hey, I suffer from depression, or I suffer from an addiction, or I suffer from these things," and that's what it's going to take to address this issue. It's more communication and admitting things that people kept to themselves historically, and so and also speaking about their own experiences, because we can sit up there it's David's parents and talk about it, but we've never really experienced it. So and the focus is really on the youth, because they're the ones that can make that culture change. As parents, we can do a lot of things. We can do a lot of things better. We know that we could have done a lot of things better, but it's the youth that can, instead of piling on and instead of just adding on to insults or just sitting back and not doing anything, if they can change that mindset and stick up for somebody, say this is enough, have some positive comments to throw in there, and have the courage to do that, moral courage. We develop that in our youth and make that part of character development. That I think we can address this issue and put this behind us. So thank you all for being here. If you have any questions, actually, before turnover, we mentioned the legislation. We've got a lot of our supporters that are here. We've got Senator Menendez. These are authors, co-authors, sponsors. Representative Moody, Representative Fairclough, Representative Parker. We've got Chairman Huberty is here, and so these guys have really been supportive, and this legislation is not something simple. It's multifaceted, it's comprehensive, and really just getting something done here is actually very difficult. And so without this kind of support, and like I said, it's not a partisan issue. It's one of the things I think that makes this it's made this work is that it's not just a San Antonio issue. It's across the state. It's across the nation. It doesn't have any economic or geographic boundaries, and it's about kids, about protecting kids, and so everybody can understand that and get behind it. And so thank you all for supporting us.
My partner in this, Representative Minhada, has had a death in the family, and she couldn't be here, but I want to thank her.
Absolutely.
And both Chairman Huberty and Chairman Moody and both Representatives Parker and Fairclough have been instrumental in getting us to where we are. The latest update is that the conference committee report has all 10 conferee signatures on it, and it's going to be eligible at midnight tonight. It'll be the earliest it could be eligible. It'd be nice if sometimes we get an opportunity to suspend the rules. I don't know what the temperature is. Right now.
That's the Senate. We actually follow the Constitution.
Rules can sometimes be guidelines.
Likely.
That's all right. We understand. Someday you'll understand.
We'll work through it.
We're going to have this bill at the governor's desk, and we're all going to feel better about making real change. But you know what? Today's not about the bill, and really, in reality, for me. Today, I just want to say thank you to Jared and Jen, because it is obvious to me that your hearts are just purely genuine in what you're trying to do. But your status in terms of your popularity and your celebrity brings a lot to the movement. And what it also does is it makes it mainstream. And so many times people see these issues as a sideline, as something that's just, it never happens to me. Unless you're personally impacted, sometimes people don't see this as a real issue. And this is a very real issue. And what I love about what you're bringing to the forefront is the mental health of our kids. I mean, if we were talking about children with juvenile diabetes, nobody would blink an eye. Everybody would be on top of it. But because it's mental health and you don't see it, and you can't test it with a blood test, and you can't cure it with it's harder to address. And sometimes it gets swept under the rug and it doesn't get addressed quickly. I appreciate what you're doing, because I think it helps us in our desire. And everyone that you see here, we take health issues, whether they're mental health, physical health, emotional, very seriously.
Pleasure's ours. That's an honor. Thank you.
Any questions?
Do one-on-ones?
Pardon me?
Do one-on-ones?
Sure, do whatever you want.